What's going on, guys? John Hasselbauer here, golf writer for TheLines.com. This is from the Tips WGC match play at the Austin Country Club edition. Thank you for joining. Today is going to be a busy day of video content because we have this, and then we also have the Corales Punta Cana Championship, which stay on the YouTube channel for that because I'll be diving into that as well today, but in a separate video. It is a double duty week. We have the match play. We have the top 64 eligible players on the PGA Tour here in Austin this week, and then everybody else who is not qualified for the WGC will be playing in Corales Punta Cana. It is a little bit better of a field there than, say, a Puerto Rico Open, which runs opposite the API, just because there are less people in the opposite field. We'll get further into that in a separate video, so we'll just focus on the match play here at play this week. It is at Austin Country Club, and it will be the last time played at Austin Country Club, which is a little bittersweet. I love the city of Austin. I was there for Austin City Limits last year. I've never been to this event, but I would think that it's a fun event to go to. It always seems like a good time in Austin. They just had South by Southwest there the last 2 weeks, and I think the party keeps going now into this match play event. Match play is an interesting beast. It is definitely different than the traditional stroke play format that we're used to seeing. I, for one, love a little variety, so I'm definitely down for the change of pace. I think it would be a shame if they actually took this event off the entire schedule, as it's kind of rumored when they reshuffle the schedule next year. It definitely won't be coming back to Austin Country Club. I would love to even see a traditional stroke play event played here. It's a Pete Dye course. It's pretty quirky, a lot of risk reward holes, but it's kind of open to the entire field, only being a short course at like 7,100 yards. It is kind of gettable for the entire field, and we've seen short hitters like Kevin Kisner win here. We've seen like Dustin Johnson bomb away here too. So I think it's a really ideal match play venue. Not to say I wouldn't love seeing stroke play here too, but in some capacity, I do hope that it stays. Before we get any further into WGC, just a reminder, make sure you are subscribed to the Lines YouTube channel. We are in the midst of March for March Madness. My bracket is obviously busted already. It busted basically an hour or two into Thursday, and I need to apologize to our guy Eli because I tweeted out a March Madness betting card crediting him, and it couldn't have gone worse. I had I bet 12. I think I bet a dozen teams, and 0 of them made it to the Sweet 16. So obviously that is not my forte. I did read some of Eli's articles. I just chose not to take his advice. He was very bullish on Arkansas, who continues to be in the Sweet 16. I am an idiot. He is not. So make sure you follow his college basketball takes and fade all of mine going forward. If you are going to listen to me, maybe golf is a better attempt to do so. So we'll hop straight in to the odds page here, which you can see on the screen. And also just a reminder, if you are on the odds page or any other Lines page, you can click right here to join the Lines Discord right here if you want to do that. That is where all of my bets are posted in real time. It's where we talk about our bets. It's where we sweated out at the Valspar Championship last week, where we had 3 of 4 placement top 20 bets hit between the winner, Taylor Moore, which is always frustrating when you're on him on a top 20, write up so many nice words, but don't pull the trigger on an outright. That's a decision-making issue on my end, but the process, the research, I think, was in a good place for the Valspar, so we'll take a small profit instead of the big outright there. Wyndham Clark also Wyndham Clark also cashed a top 20, and Sam Ryder, despite a double bogey on 18, did chop a top 20. So we'll take what we can get. The momentum is good. And just general thoughts on Valspar, I guess, before we go any further into the match play odds. We had Tommy Fleetwood in the mix. I thought it felt like a 50-50 shot between him and Spieth all day. It really came down to that final par 5 for Fleetwood, where he was in the middle of the fairway, about 220 out, or I guess 250 out, and he yanked it into an unfortunate lie. It's just impossible to get up and down from that bunker, but you have to make birdie in that situation. if he does, then he forces a playoff with Taylor Moore, and we're, in a much better spirits this week than another week without an outright. But it's always good to have a sweat. There was something to watch for the entire Sunday, and good for Taylor Moore, who was kind of trending that way. One of those Korn Ferry guys who was actually able to win on the Korn Ferry Tour. One in a pretty convenient way where you're just kind of sitting on the driving range and hoping that somebody else makes a mistake, which is what happened with Adam Schenk, and you were kind of just inevitably expecting at some point was going to happen. It took him to the 18th hole, but he did kind of play himself out of it, which is a shame. Baby on the way. He had the little baby mush talk with his wife that never seems to go well in these events. But it was a fun watch, down to the wire, really entertaining. Better entertainment than I was expecting for the Valspar Championship. Too bad we couldn't pull through with the outright, but again, it's a profitable week. We will take it rolling into the match play. So now getting into the match play, we are in Austin. You can see all the top 64 best eligible players are here. I personally think the LIV guys should be here. The qualification has always been the 64 best OWGR players, no matter what. That means 8 players from LIV, including Joaquin Niemann, Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson. I think Patrick Reed would have been last man in or last man out. Kokrak, Gooch, Chancer, those guys should be here, honestly. And if they were, then we would be looking at a lot more competitive field. Say what you will about none of them really being relevant even in LIV right now, but they are good players. And I think they did deserve to be here. It would have been a much more compelling week if they were here, but instead we'll have to wait a couple more weeks for the Masters before we see all those guys in action altogether. Instead, we have still all the heavy hitters here with the exception of Justin Thomas. So you see Scheffler, Rahm, and Rory here are still your favorites. This is an event where, you couldn't script up a better setup for Scotty Scheffler right now. He is the defending champion of this event. He was in the finals the year before that. He went to school at the University of Texas in Austin down the road from here. He's a local favorite. He won his last start before this at the Players. He's the world number 1. And his match play record in general, with the exception of a very weird President's Cup from him, is sensational. He beat Jon Rahm heads up at the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits. So there's nothing bad you could say about Scheffler. He's going to be a one and done pick for me from an outright perspective. I'm not betting him at 8-1, although I don't think it's a bad bet, to be honest. So if you want to go that way, I don't think I can blame you for it, but I'm trying to have a little more fun with this, have some exposure to a few more bullets if in this volatile format something goes wrong. I like Rahm this week. We also have Rory, who is experimenting with new clubs, so something to monitor. He was not happy with his driver last week, so maybe he's found something new. Maybe he's just testing it out before the Masters. We'll see. Patrick Cantlay has some shoddy match play history, so somebody I'm a little lukewarm to. Max Homa is very interesting this week. Jordan Spieth is somebody I think could do some damage. Tyrrell Hatton I like very much, and Sungjae Im I really like, but he would get the Scheffler group. In the second round, we'll look at the bracket after this. But yeah, I'm a little cold feet on Sungjae, and then the only other guy that I think the odds are really great on that I didn't have a chance to get to was Corey Connors at 80-1. He was the third place finisher last year, so 80-1. That's a really good number. I didn't bet it because I bet somebody else very close to him in the group, and I'm hoping that he advances. But had I not done that, I think Connors is a great bet and a great pick in his bracket. Looking at the core specs, I would say the core specs really aren't that relevant this week. It's match play. It's not your traditional, if you're a good fit in stroke play, then you're going to be a good fit here. It is a short course. I think that's worth noting. There's a lot of short par 4s. I think there's 5 in total, which are under 400 yards. It is a Bermuda green setup. The rough is low and dormant. So, just from an eye test standpoint, I think this course looks a lot like the stadium course. Short, peat dye, some hazards, in play throughout, a lot of water, not a ton of water, like a little less than stadium course, but definitely like a good amount of water in play that you need to be accurate to avoid. And the ball just kind of goes here. Like if it trickles into the rough, it keeps going because it's this dormant low Bermuda. So driving accuracy is not really the end all be all, but I would say approach is what matters most. And then just looking at the other comp courses, I think most TPCs actually translate well here, given the risk reward setup of most of them, as long as it's not like a risk reward, like a Bombers TPC, like let's say TPC Twin Cities that has a lot of rough too. Like I don't think that's a good comp, but Scottsdale, River Highlands, Sawgrass, TPC Louisiana, where they have the Zurich Classic in another sort of match play ish format. I guess it's not, it's team play, but it's not traditional stroke play. TPC San Antonio also sort of risk rewardy, and then Sea Island I think is actually a pretty solid comp. Kisner, Scheffler, and Horschel have all top 5 there within the last 3 years, and they've all won here in the last 3 years. So I think that's a pretty good comp if you just want to look at like windy Bermuda short courses. You can't really go wrong there. And then just looking at the betting trends here, a lot of favorites, I would say, between Scheffler and DJ and Day, McIlroy. It's always going to be big names, but it's a WGC, so the field is kind of limited to big names, so that kind of skews it a little bit. Horschel might be the only big surprise we've seen here over the years. Even when Jason Day won at 101, it's Jason Day, and he had won 2 years before, so not shocking when that happened, but he wasn't in great form at the time. So, the trends are kind of all over the place. I'm not really going to follow that blindly. I think this is a week to have fun with the card, play around with it a little bit, and just give yourself some entertainment value, because if you don't have a sweat on Sunday, it's kind of a boring watch just following 2 guys trot around the fairway. But okay, that's the background on the course. Now we're going to switch gears to a quick view of the model. Looking at the model this week, it's a straightforward one. I really don't think people should dive too deep into their models in match play, because this is all strokes gained off of stroke play data. And as I said in my preview, you could shoot the second worst round of the day and win. You could shoot the second best round of the day and lose. You can beat your opponent outright and still lose the matchup if they have one blow up hole, but the rest of their holes are good. That doesn't really kill you here. So I like the aggressive players, the guys who go for the risk reward, try to make as many birdies as possible. Most of the time, a bogey is just as bad as a par. So guys who know that and have experience in match play and can step over an important putt tend to be pretty sticky here when it comes to like repeated results. So looking at the results, the model results, I guess we'll say, I really quickly approach tee to green on comp courses, birdie or better gained, Pete Dye history, since this is a Dye course and we've seen a lot of correlation with those other ones. Bermuda putting's huge here, but particularly on Bermuda. I've got par 4 scoring under 400, because I think that's where you're going to get most of your birdie opportunities here. And then I've got last 36 and last 12 strokes gained total, just to make sure you are in good form leading in, particularly in the immediate, especially at Sawgrass, which is a very good comp to here. So top 10 of my model was Scheffler, Hatton, Rahm, Sungjae, Finau, Xander, Cantlay, Day, McIlroy, and Hovland. Of that group, I really do love Sungjae, but he gets Scheffler in the second round if they both advance. I don't love that, and I don't see Scheffler having an issue getting out of round 1. So that gives me a little bit of pause. At some point, it seems like somebody will have to face Scheffler at any moment, but if you're in any other bracket, you at least have the thought in the back of your mind that somebody down the road could beat him before he has to get to you. I would say of this group, Hatton has me most interested. He was at 40-1 before the brackets were released. I knew that was a bad number, but I hate betting this event before the groups are released. So I waited, and now he's 28, and now or 25, I believe. So now can't really bet that number. He'll get Rory in the second round, but again, his history is a little more shaky than Scheffler and Rahm's here at Austin Country Club. He has won the match play, but not here. So I kind of like Hatton to go pretty far in this event. He's coming in great form. Okay, and then the other thing when we go beyond the just the model is looking at match play results, and this is an ugly sheet, but it's something that helped me just kind of conceptualize who plays well in this event. So I just kind of aggregated in every match play event series played here at Austin Country Club since 2016. How many times has a player advanced from the group stage to the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and reached the final? So Matt Kuchar, actually, surprisingly, is the best at getting out of his group. He's done so 4 out of 6 times. I can't actually confirm if he's played all 6 since 2016, but he's advanced the most. So something notable there. He is a 4 seed, a quote unquote 4 seed in a good group this week. But if you're looking for a value player off of just the event history, he's good to follow. Rahm, Kisner, and Hatton have each advanced 3 times. I think that's interesting for Rahm. I know Scheffler is going to get a lot of deserved attention for how well he's played this event, and you can see every time he's advanced to group stage, he's made it to the final, so that is scary. Kevin Kisner has done the same thing. He's advanced to group 3 times, and all 3 times he's made it to the final. Rahm's made it to the final once, lost to Dustin Johnson, but I just think this is going to be a good event for him. So I have Rahm pegged as a good bounce back off of the stomach bug at the Players. Some other notables, I guess we could say, Chris Kirk has gotten out to the quarterfinals once, and he's now playing in better form than he's ever had leading into this event, coming off that win at the Honda. He draws a pretty difficult group too, but that's just an encouraging thing to see from a player of his stature. Corey Connors was your 3rd place finisher here last year, so that is interesting to monitor. And you can see the list of guys. There's a long list of players. Even Victor Perez has gotten out once, and he actually got as far as the semifinals. So again, that's interesting to track. And last year, Seamus Power also made it to the quarterfinals. So just an interesting view at it. You could also see, I think it's helpful to note players like Matsuyama and Max Homa, Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau is down here, Sam Burns, Sungjae Im. I don't have how many times they've played and how many times they've missed it. Xander Schauffele here as well, Victor Hovland. This also, like, you could have had a terrible group of death and played well but not advanced. That's not captured here, but it's notable that those guys have never made it to group out of the group stage. So it's just something to think about when you're trying to whittle down your player pool. I also have President's Cup and Ryder Cup finishes here from the most recent iterations of both. Both were on complete Bombers courses at Quail Hollow and Whistling Straits, so I don't think it's that pertinent for this week, but you can see, I think more so for like the international team players who are going to be flying under the radar. You see a guy like Siwoo Kim went 3-1-0, Sungjae Im went 2-2-1, and I believe KH Lee went 2-1. All pretty good showings in match play for guys who don't have a ton of match play experience. So I don't know, maybe that's a narrative. They keep something going. I would say if you played poorly at either of these courses, I think a great example of that would be, if we go all the way to the bottom here, Kevin Kisner went 0-2-1, Billy Horschel went 1-2-1, and Scotty Scheffler went 0-3-1. Those are your 3 last winners of the WGC Dell match play. And none of them looked impressive whatsoever at Quail Hollow. That kind of makes sense. This is a short course. That is a very long course. So if you play well at the long course, that can translate here. If you're only playing well at the short course, it's not guaranteed to translate the other way around. So I'm not going to read too much into that unless it is a positive. And then lastly, we will just go back to the model. And, or actually, I don't have it filtered that way, but just to talk through who I'm going to bet, I can actually just go to the betting card here. So one moment. So here you can see the betting card for the match play. Jon Rahm is where I'm going to start my card at 14-1. The last time he prematurely left an event with an illness was the Memorial due to COVID, and the week later he won the U.S. Open. So that seems to be a good omen for him. He's no longer the world number one. He has something to prove. He's played well here. He's a very imposing presence. And I just think if you're facing Jon Rahm, like, you kind of are nervous to do that. And he has a good group. I'm not going to lie. He drew a tough with Fowler and who else is in his group? Fowler and Mitchell, and I'm blanking on the other one. But he'll have his work cut out, but he's better than all of those guys. So I'll take the 14-1 odds. It's nearly double what Scheffler's is. And then, when you start your card with a 14-1, you take a few bombs. So Hoagie looked fantastic. He broke the course record on a short Pete Dye course in his last start. Great approach player. Approach is important here. He gets Xander's group. Xander looked a little shaky in this event last year and hasn't advanced out group stage in this event before. So I like my chances on Hoagie. Sahith gets Fitzpatrick's group. Fitzpatrick looks completely lost right now. So I'll just take the next best player in that group, and I love betting Sahith, so we'll see how that goes. Siwoo, KH, and Christian Bezaden, who all bombs, but all players who looked good in that President's Cup, and maybe they bring in a little bit of positive energy here. Coming off of that experience, KH Lee is prolific in Texas, has 2 wins at the AT&T Byron Nelson in this state over the last 2 years. So yeah, that's the quick and dirty betting card. The last thing I want to do is just pull up the bracket and just kind of quickly talk through how I filled mine out. It's a big bracket, so I'm not going to go too crazy with this, but you can also go to the PGA Tour website, and they have a link to this, so you can kind of just fill in your own bracket, because my March Madness one is busted. So this is what I need. In the first group, I love Tom Kim, but I have to go Scheffler. I actually don't think this is a very tough group for him. I think he gets out pretty easy. Sung Jae modeled out really well for me. Fleetwood could be a tough draw. He's playing really well right now, but a lot of good putters in this group, actually. That's going to be a fun one to watch. But I think this is a good setup for Sung Jae. If he was not immediately set up to face Scheffler here, I would have picked Sung Jae to go very far in this event. Morikawa, I know it's starting out with 3 chalk guys, but I will I'll differentiate in other places. I'll say that. Morikawa is kind of like a Sergio Garcia type, where the putting looks awful, and then you stick him in match play and he makes everything. He was incredible at the Ryder Cup, played really well at the President's Cup as well. And it's a short die course. Like, he just should play well on these types of courses. Struck it incredibly at Sawgrass, just couldn't buy a putt. So putts fall. He's going to have a good showing at this event. I actually do really like Victor Hovland, but I like the value on Siwoo Kim, just from like a differentiation standpoint. I think he has a good chance to come out of this bracket not as afraid of Kirk and Kuchar this week. Homa is going to be the popular pick here, but Kisner has the best event history. So if you want to get a little bit different, his form couldn't be worse, but his event history couldn't be better. So we'll see which one prevails there. I think Spieth is an easy pick here. He'll be popular, but Longhorn narrative plays well in this event and has looked great. A couple of top 5s in his last 3 starts. So like Spieth's chances. Burns, I'm a little nervous about the ball striking form right now. This is actually a very deep group, but Hadwin actually rated out the best in my model. So I'll get a little crazy with Hadwin. And then KH Lee, I really like his prospects here. Cantlay, again, he'll be a popular pick, but we got to differentiate somehow in these brackets. They never go exactly according to plan. So give me KH Lee. He finished top 20 at the Valspar last week, and looked pretty good doing it. And then just to complete this side of the board, I like Scheffler over Siwoo. I like I like Scheffler over Sung Jae. I like Siwoo over Colin. Give me a Scheffler Siwoo matchup. That'd be a lot of fun, I think, to watch. And then I'm not going to take Kisner to go too far. Give me Spieth in that matchup, and I do like KH Lee over Adam Hadwin. So give me KH Lee in the semifinals, and then I'll have Spieth advancing to Scheffler. We get a little Longhorn reunion matchup here, and I'm going to take Scotty to prevail in that one to get to the championship. From the right side, we have Jon Rahm in a tough group with Horschel, Mitchell, and Fowler. A lot of good event history in that too. A lot of good putters. That's gonna be a fun group to watch. But I love Rahm's better than all those guys. He should take care of business against any group play, I would think. So I'll take him. I think Connors should actually be a co-favorite in this group. Cam Young has Paul Tesori on the bag, which is good long term. Maybe a little bit of growing pains week one. We'll see. But I like Connors to advance after the third place last year. See Bez over Finau's group. Finau, you never really seem to be able to trust him. And he's regressing a little bit from his world beater status at the beginning of the season. So give me Bez after a good showing at Sawgrass on another short positional course. And then we have Harris English. Why not? A little 2021 Ryder Cup reunion. He probably wants to get back on that Ryder Cup team. Show he can prove his worth in match play. That's how guys like Billy Horschel and Kevin Kisner got on the President's Cup team last year. So maybe he puts on a nice audition, makes a ton of putts. We know he can do that. And Zalatoris looks a little up and down right now. He doesn't quite look himself. Is a Texas guy. He'll have the crowd on his side and should be a favorite. But, they don't always go according to plan. So I like Bez. I like English's setup there. And then Tom Hoge, he's striking it so well right now. Xander is too, and he'll be a tough out, but I'm not really too concerned about the other two guys in this group. So I'll take Hoge to differentiate. Next group, I love Sahith to come out of here. I don't think Matt Fitzpatrick is in a good state right now. He's recovering from injury. He looked completely lost at the Valspar. So give me Sahith, whose irons continue to trend. And just seems to play risk-reward courses really well. Easy draw for Tyrrell Hatton. He has advanced to group stage 3 times before, is in great form. I expect him to do it again. And a pretty easy draw for Rory as well, even if he's not looking 100% himself. The ball striking is still fine. He'll advance. Going back to the top, I then have Rahm advancing over Connors and Bez edging out English. So we have a Rahm and Bez matchup there, which actually sets up a very easy path for Rahm to get to the semifinals. And then on the bottom, we have Hoge and Sahith. I'll take Sahith there. I think he's a little more of an aggressive player, can string along more birdies. I think he'll be a little intimidating in match play, honestly. So I'm excited to see that. And I'll take Hatton over Rory. I think Hatton's just kind of trending a little bit more right now and seems like he really wants it at the moment. So we've got a Hatton and Sahith match play. That'd be awesome to watch. I hope we get to see that. And I'll continue to ride the hot hand with Hatton. And then ultimately, we'll take Rahm over Hatton. So we get world number 1 versus world number 2, Scheffler versus Rahm in the final. And I have Scheffler prevailing as the world number 1. He's my one and done pick. Hopefully, if it gets to this point, I'll just hedge with the Rahm outright. But my hope with the Rahm outright is that somebody along the line takes Scotty down, because if that happens and the rest of this plays out, it is actually pretty manageable path for Rahm to get to the final. Okay, so that is my bracket. I love this week again. As I said, it's nice to switch it up, not do match play every single week. So I'm looking forward to this week. I hope you found this video helpful. And best of luck to you in your WGC match play bets.